Blah, 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 blah. Welcome to Creative Block. We're your hosts, Gene.
And V, we interview people in the animation industry about their life, work, and hobbies while we doodle jam. This is the hardest part to say.
We asked people on Twitter if they had specific topics they wanted us to discuss, as well as some drawing prompts.
And today with us, we have Kiana Mai.
Yay!
Yay! Thank you for having me.
Thank
Thanks
you for coming
being
on the show.
I'm so excited. I'm looking at all these prompts. I'm really looking forward to it.
We have so many prompts. There's definitely a recurring pattern. I think.
What do you mean?
Yeah, you have a brand.
I absolutely do.
We'll get into that later. But you're a storyboard artist. Tell us about who you are and what you work on.
Yeah, so I'm Kiana Con Smith, but I go by Kiana Mai, which is my middle name.
Mm-hmm.
I am a storyboard artist at Disney on Big City Greens. I also have a director's credit under my belt.
Ooh.
On the show, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I've done character design on the show as well, and I've done freelance boarding stuff for Cartoon Network and like Chromosphere, and also viz dev character design for DreamWorks. So I've been doing a lot more stuff recently.
Wow, that is so cool. Like, yeah,
that's
you're
awesome.
really doing it all.
Yeah, I'm trying.
When was kind of like the moment, like, did you always know you like to draw?
Yeah, I would say so. I started drawing probably when I was about 6, I want to say. Like, I learned how to draw from like the Christopher Hart How to Draw Manga books.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah?
Oh yeah.
What a start.
100%.
That is so funny. So great.
Because my parents didn't really let us watch cartoons or anime much, believe it or not.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of my only exposure to really like drawing and like manga and anime for like a while. So that was kind of where it all started for me, I would say. And like
where it all went downhill.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where I pretty much started. But after that, after they like let up and eventually let us start watching cartoons and stuff, I got super into like Powerpuff Girls and Foster's Home. And what else did I watch?
How old were you when you were like, quotation mark, allowed to watch cartoons?
Probably, that's a good question. Maybe around like 9 or 10, like regularly. Because like we would have like sometimes like Powerpuff Girls on like as a treat. But then
Can have little Powerpuff Girls.
yeah, as a tweet. But for the most part, like we had to have like parental supervision all the time. And they finally like let us free when I was like about 10, I would say. And I just started watching like everything. It was great.
Mm-hmm. The chains were unleashed.
Yes, exactly.
There was no looking back.
And I started watching Pokemon pretty late too, because Pokemon, like coming from a Christian home, our family didn't really like Pokemon much. Like, oh,
really?
monsters, demons. Like,
interesting.
Let's not get into that. And me and my brother, oh, okay, I guess.
It seems so safe. Like
you would think, right? But
yeah,
definitely had a stigma in our house.
I do remember as a little kid when I was like, because I got into Pokemon when I was probably around 10. That was like the first gen too, and it was just like. And it was the beginning of the internet, you guys. Like, so it was still like 56K, right? Like,
yeah.
And so I would go, the only website I would go to was like this French version of like the Pokemon. And like, and then I Googled it, and then I ended up, I don't know, no, Google didn't exist. So it was whatever browser was at the time.
Yeah.
And
Ask Jeeves.
Probably Netscape or something. And
maybe.
I did find websites of like Christian associations that were like super against Pokemon, and they were like, yeah, because abracadabra, Alakazam, those are like kind of like occult references and stuff. So I remember that.
Yeah, it was wild, but definitely kept me and my brother away from Pokemon for a while. But this, like, the funny part about it is like we got into it because one day at a college football game, my brother found a copy of Pokemon Diamond on the ground, and we were like, Mom, Dad, please.
Are you serious?
This is like a $40 game. You gotta let us keep this, please.
That's so funny.
And they like gave, and they're like, fine, okay. So
it's like Jumanji.
Yeah, right? So like right after that, we were like in it, and our parents could not stop us. And like it just led to me watching the anime, my brother playing all the games, and then what else? The cards as well, which were also a huge influence on my art, I feel like.
Sure, I can see it.
So that's where that all started.
It's this forbidden fruit.
Yeah.
You can't. That's so funny.
So I think my parents are they're very happy about how it all worked out, because I feel like Pokemon really influenced my art, and I don't think I would have a job, honestly, in art if I didn't have Pokemon.
It's paying the bills now.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
So funny how it all started with this game that you found on the floor. This is like a movie.
I know. It's so funny.
A blessing. Yeah.
Absolute blessing.
It's like glowing on the sidewalk. That's really
yeah.
fun.
Oh, that's so funny.
So did you go to school for art?
I did. I went to California College of the Arts up in Oakland, California.
Mm-hmm.
I went there for 3 years because I actually got picked up for Big City Greens before I graduated, like in my senior year. Very, very lucky.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that at all, because definitely in college, I was in my junior year starting to get a little discouraged because I was getting like rejected from pretty much every internship I had applied for. I was like, oh no, I'm not good at art. What's going on? But having Chris Houghton reach out to me just randomly and being like, hey, we like your stuff. Would you want to test for our show? Was like huge for me, and like a huge boost in confidence. And yeah, I tried not to get my hopes up, because like I had heard like, oh, testing can be pretty hard, and it's like scary, and you don't know, and there's like so many talented people out there. Like I had been on Twitter at that point, so I knew just how many like talented people there were out there, and I was like, oh boy, well, I'm gonna give it a shot though. Like, I mean, it's Disney, why wouldn't I? And yeah, I did my test. It was really like, it was a wild time, because it was like midterms were coming up, if I remember correctly. So I was like preparing for that in school, and then having this test on top of that was like, extra like work to do.
Oh yeah,
so,
sure.
Like in my head, I was like, well, if I like beef this test, like I don't want my grades to like go down because I focused on this too much.
Right.
So I ended up doing all my classwork that week, and then doing my whole test in like one night, pretty much.
Whoa, wow.
But I mean, it all worked out, because like after I turned in my test, like 2 days later, the line producer contacted me and was like, hey, the guys really liked your stuff, and we would love if you could like work on our show with us, but we know you're in school, would you be willing to like come out? And I was like, oh yes, for sure. So I dropped out of school like immediately and had to move down in like 2 weeks.
Damn.
And just started working.
That is so great.
So how old were you when you got that offer?
I was 20, so it was like 3 years ago.
That's crazy. Oh my God. Well, yeah, that's something worth mentioning, is that like, I mean, between us, I think there's almost a decade.
Yeah,
but like,
baby.
Your experience is very different, I feel like. It's like, it's interesting to come up from the internet. I mean, there's almost a generational gap, and I feel like you have such a good wielding of like the internet and as like a promotional tool, and like you've built such a huge following just being yourself. Honestly, I mean, that's what's impressive, is like,
oh, thank you.
Nothing I feel like, nothing that you post feels like you're trying to get likes or retweets or anything. You just gush about the stuff that you like.
Yeah, 100%.
Which is Team Rocket
yeah.
and other stuff. And people really respond to it. And like, I think that's great. And I feel like that's a really good example of like how people should go about it, you know? But like, I
agree.
V can say her angle, but like my angle is, you know, like I've been on the internet forever, since like 96, but like, I never feel like I really understood social media, and still like, to me, it feels alien, and I don't like to post on there. Like, yeah, I feel like it I don't know. There's something that's like uncomfortable to me about it, and I just don't want to expose myself. But
No, that's fair.
But it's like from your angle, like I'm curious, like at what age did you sort of come on to, the internet and social media, and like how did it feel, and how did you sort of figure out your lane? Like how did you figure out how you wanted to handle it?
Yeah. So I think most people know that I definitely almost exclusively kind of just draw fan art
Mm-hmm.
on the internet, and that is exactly how I started. Like literally nothing has changed. I think the first time I was like on the internet was, oh man, I must have been 13-ish, like 2010, on DeviantArt doing a Pokemon next generation comic
Whoa.
about
Okay.
like the children of the cast of the Pokemon anime. And that was like
Damn.
my first, that was pretty much the first thing I did and like was known for on the internet, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been on the internet for a while now. I guess it has been like 10 years, which is crazy. But that's pretty much how I started, just drawing fan art, drawing Pokemon, drawing Team Rocket. I have been drawing Team Rocket for 10 years. It's
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's the anniversary.
It is. It truly is. But I just, yeah, I just love Pokemon so much, and like that love has never really died. And like I've always enjoyed drawing it, just because like I love the style of it. I love the characters, and it's just like I think the fact that it was like forbidden for a while for
Yeah.
Oh
me also like
yeah.
added to the appeal. But yeah, that's kind of how I started on DeviantArt. But then like after that, where I got my biggest following was I ditched that account and then moved to a different one to draw My Little Pony stuff because that was big at the time, and I got super into the show and became
The show was so cute.
horse famous for a hot minute
Sure.
and gained my following there. And then after I was done with that, went back to Pokemon and then kind of hopped into Tumblr and Twitter rather than just DeviantArt. And I got lucky because I think a lot of the people that followed me like started following me for more than just like my fan art stuff, and just kind of like were following me for like anything that I was drawing, which is really nice.
Yeah.
To just kind of have like a bunch of people that liked my art for my art and not just like, oh, because I'm drawing this character that they like all the time.
Yeah, it's a good start. I mean, I had a moment where I was drawing fan art, and it's like it's a good way to attract people to you and your style, your brand, whatever it is.
Oh, for
But it's
sure.
like, and you're getting people who share interests as you, so you know that
Yeah.
you're like you're already building a relationship with them in a way, like with your fans.
Oh, absolutely.
I would also say, just like, even without thinking just about social media at all, I feel like
Right.
fan art is such a great way to improve one's skills. I feel like drawing fan art is just, well, first of all, it's fun because if you're doing it, you like the show, right? So you're
Yeah.
just having
Hopefully
fun
you
with,
like it. Yeah.
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 And then I don't know, like, I realized there was a moment I drew a bunch of fan art, and it really taught me so much about drawing, because when you like emulate another style, then you learn from that style.
Yeah, I think that was like the most fun part about it for me too. Doing fan art because I love drawing in different styles and like trying to emulate other people's styles. Like a few years ago, I did like a 6 artist tag, and I think it's kind of like not the tag, but like the challenge has kind of come back where like, oh, draw like yourself in like your mutual style.
Yeah. It floats around. It comes and goes.
Yeah, so like I always loved challenges like that because I feel like you learn so much just from like trying to figure out how somebody does something, like whether it be like how they use shape or how they like even just down to like the technical, like what brushes are they using for their line art, or like
Yeah.
how do I like replicate that and
Mm-hmm.
like with the tools that I have kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I always thought that was like a very valuable like lesson to learn, and like just a skill to try out.
Absolutely.
And like I get the same thing from like doing fan art as well, like just kind of closely analyzing like a show style pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of want to ask you a little bit about when you were in middle school slash high school. Like, did you kind of do any art classes, or did you just mostly focus your art like on posting it onto the internet, or kind of how was your relationship to art during that time in your life?
Yeah, I pretty much just had like the basic art classes that you would usually have in like middle school, high school. A lot of like painting and like art history kind of stuff. So not necessarily like stuff that I wanted to do, but like still valuable, of course. Like it's always good to learn like the fundamentals and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But pretty much everything else I learned and like how I got my style, I feel like came from just looking at other people on the internet or watching cartoons and anime. But yeah, I feel like it's a pretty common experience for people my age at
I think so.
least. Yeah. Like having the internet is such like a useful tool. Like there are so many kids online nowadays are just so powerful. I'm like,
Yeah.
how on
Oh, man.
earth? How on earth can you draw like this? You're so talented. Like
Yeah.
I am so excited to see like what Gen Z brings to like animation in like
Yeah.
the next 10 years.
100%.
Yeah, we mentioned it in a previous episode, the idea of like, the generation that's like molded by the internet. It's you're not like grown into it, you're just kind of born with it. And so you like
Yeah.
and that's like I think you're one of the youngest board artists or just artists in animation that I know. And so like it's an interesting perspective to me to kind of learn about. And I think other people would probably interested in it too.
Yeah. I definitely think we have a huge advantage like having all this access to like information that was just like a mystery before, I feel
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
Would you say that like you learned from tutorials that you found on the internet?
Not even necessarily tutorials. It was just like looking at other people's drawings and seeing like what other people were kind of like latching onto and being like oh, people kind of like this style. I kind of want to try this style because like up till like that point, like all I had really known was like either cartoons or just like my Christopher Hart manga, how to draw books. So like seeing different like such vastly like different styles from like so many different kinds of like people was like really cool and like opened up my eyes to just like oh, there's just like so many different ways to draw and so many different types of art styles that I want to like try emulate and like bring to my own style pretty much.
Yeah. Well, that's a good way to learn.
Yeah.
Start with what you like and then you kind of mash it all up and figure out what it is that you want to like, what you want to keep, what you want to throw away.
Oh, absolutely.
That is so great. I love that.
Yeah.
I like watching you draw Jesse because you do it with such care and precision. You're just like redrawing the same line over and over.
Yes.
But you have love for Jesse. You want to make sure that
super do.
I've been shitting out like bad like Executor or whatever and Buff
so
Pikachu,
good.
and then you're like carefully like every line is so deliberate. I think it's really funny.
No, I love these characters so much. They're very much
Oh, I get it.
the reason I think why I stuck with Pokemon for so long.
That's a good question. So like what is it about Pokemon that really excites you? And I guess especially Jesse and James.
Yeah, God. I feel like in general I've always liked villain characters more in like any form of media just because like I don't know, they're just written so interestingly. Not that like heroes can't be, but like I don't know, you always want to know like the why to why these characters are doing the things that they do.
Sure.
And I feel like for me, Jesse and James is like whole characters and like personas were kind of the introduction for me to like tragic backstories.
Oh, okay.
That was like my first encounter with that. Because like I didn't get to watch Pokemon when I was younger, and me and my brother got into Pokemon around Diamond and Pearl.
Mm-hmm.
The first episode I ever watched of Pokemon was called Crossing Paths in I forget what season it is, but like the Diamond and Pearl series. And it's about Jessie like letting go of her Pokemon in a very like Bye Bye Butterfree kind of way.
Oh, okay.
If you've seen that episode.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty much that, but with Jessie. But like for her, it was about like her Dustox wanting to find like love, and then Jessie having to like sacrifice like that, like her Pokemon basically, and like letting it go because it fell in love, and like there's like a bunch of flashbacks to her past of like her like lost love and like her like failings as like a trainer and all this like really sad stuff. And like as a like 12-year-old, I think like I was just like sobbing like, oh no,
Aw.
she's so much like more than I thought she was. And like that really led me down like the rabbit hole of like trying to figure out more about these characters and like learning about their backstories and like figuring out like everything. I wanted to know everything about their pasts and like why they are the way they are. And I don't know, they're just like really well written characters in my opinion. Like there's a lot more to them than you see on the surface. But I like that's like the charm of them too. It's like they're just kind of like goofy at the end of the day, which I also really enjoy.
Sparks your imagination, I guess.
Oh, for sure. But yeah, that's kind of where that love for them kicked off.
Gotcha. Veet, is there anything you wanted to ask Kiana?
I was thinking, like, since we're kind of moving into inspiration, like, obviously Pokemon is like a huge inspiration for you in terms of art, but like you were just kind of mentioning when you were talking about Jesse's backstory, would you say that it's inspired you also in terms of writing or any other like aspect of, I guess, making art?
Yeah, I mean, personally, like I didn't think I would ever get into like the industry as fast as I did. So like the idea of like pitching my own kind of stories and like trying to come up with new things on my own never really occurred to me, or like it never was like a thing that like I thought I could do. But like now that I am kind of in that place where I'm like, oh, I do want to pitch, like it's making me think about like character a lot more and like wanting to like write characters like as compelling as Jesse and James like are to me, and like giving that, wanting like other people to have like that experience that I did, like finding out about Jesse and James' past and being like so invested in characters like that. But currently, like, since I'm just a board artist on Big City Greens, and there's, like, not much I can personally do about, like, backstories and whatnot, it's all kind of just, like, stuff in my head at the moment that I would love to show the world at, like, some point.
Sure.
I was gonna say, though, like, your job as a board artist, correct me if I'm wrong, but is Big City Greens board-driven or script-driven?
Yeah. Funny thing about it is, like, it was completely board driven, like outline, and then board artists write all the dialogue and everything. So it was like that for a good while until like recently we switched over to scripts. But it like our bosses were very like open and like telling us like, hey, let's like we want to move over to scripts, but we still want to kind of keep like that same like flavor that we had in like the first season, which was like a lot like due to like the board artist input. So like we still definitely change up the scripts that we get a lot, like similarly to how we did board driven stuff. So it's a good jumping off point having the scripts, I think, but it's not as board driven as it used to be. It's kind of weird, but like I actually like it a lot.
Because I was going to ask you, how long did you spend on the show when it was board driven, and how long when it was script driven?
I started on Big City Greens at the end of season 1. So let's see, about 2.5 years board driven, and then like very recently.
Man, that's a big shift.
Yeah, just switching over to script stuff. So I've only been doing script for maybe a couple months now, a few months.
Oh, okay. So that is recent.
Yeah, extremely recent.
Would you say it has kind of helped the workload for you? Do you feel like you're able to go a little bit, like dig a little bit deeper in your craft on
Yeah, I would say so. Like it's been very nice because like the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been like a nice load off of my shoulders to just be able to like look at a script and like not have to stress about like, oh, I need to write like every single line and like every single joke. It's just like, oh,
it's exhausting.
Yeah, I can kind of rely on the script a little bit more, and like it's nice because like we also have more of like a gauge of what the timing a little bit more, because like with board driven you kind of just have the outline and like not really a sense of like, oh, is this episode gonna be too long? Am I gonna be like under time? But like with the scripts, like it's kind of figured out a little bit more, so it's a lot less stress in that way. But yeah, I think it's been really beneficial to everybody to do things this way, for sure.
This is going to be $1 million question. Would you, if you ever had a show get picked up, would you do board driven or script driven?
Oh man, that's such a hard question. I like just having like done board driven and like seeing like the product, I'm like, oh, 100% board driven. But like it's also very hard, I feel like, to do board driven stuff. Like for like one thing, like hiring people that can draw and write is very tricky. But then also like, yeah, it's a lot to manage on like the like it's a lot more loose and open, which I think is fun, but also it's like it leaves a lot of room for like mistakes and like stuff that has to be taken care of like down the road. I think like eventually like everybody kind of figures out the system, but like I imagine like the first season, I think, of any board driven show is kind of rough for a little bit, just trying to figure everything out.
I think the first season of any show is going to be rough, so it really is just kind of pick your poison to a degree.
Yeah, for sure.
It's always going to suck.
I don't know. I think they both work really well. Just seeing like how many like amazing script-driven shows that there are out there, and just like having had so much fun when Big City was board-driven. Yeah, it's hard to say. I think maybe I would say board-driven just because that's how I started, and what I'm like still kind of a little more used to.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But yeah, that's just my experience.
Sure. Well, yeah, it's different, and I there's people who love the board driven, and they love to like, it feels more like you contribute more, and it's like your episode.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
that's definitely the best feeling, I think. Like
for sure, you
could just be like, wow, like I did that, like I wrote that.
Mm-hmm.
I remember getting my first episode back, like full animation and like all the voices. I was just like, wow, this is like me. Like this is so cool, and just like. Having that ability to just like put in my humor and like my writing sensibilities, and like seeing it just like on TV was so surreal.
Yeah.
I was so happy. I still get that feeling though, like on script stuff, like whenever I see stuff come back, like I still feel like I contributed like a lot to it, for sure. Because it, like at the end of the day, like all cartoons are just like a product of like everybody's hard work.
Yeah, it's very collaborative.
Yeah, I just love cartoons. Don't care how they're run.
Other than Pokemon, what other influences do you have? Like, what kind of stuff do you feel like shaped you? And it doesn't have to be animation, doesn't have to be, even like drawn, like movies. But I'd love to know what kind of stuff like really inspires you.
Manga was a big one, like comics and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I used to get manga all the time just to look at the pictures. Like I think for the most part, like I had so many different manga back in the day, but I could not tell you what they actually were. Just because I was too busy just like looking at the pictures pretty much. So like a lot of manga, definitely just those old drawing books, and family, really, because like my family is pretty artistic, actually.
Oh yeah.
So like none of them are actually like have art careers or anything, but like my mom has always like as a hobby just done like knitting and like crocheting and like lots of like crafts and stuff like that. And my dad just like is works in an office, but like he's just really good at drawing. Like I remember drawing with my dad all the time when I was a kid, like because he really liked Marvel comics and like DC comics when he was younger. So like I guess he just had that ability in him, because like I'd never really seen him draw before, but then like when he like would draw with me, like it was always just so good. I'm like, where did you learn how to draw like that? He's like, I don't know.
That's how my dad is too. Yeah.
Just like had this like natural talent that I had no idea. I was like, where did this come from?
Just keeping it secret. Yeah, my dad would draw like little comics for me when I was little, and I have never seen him draw since. Right? I don't know. It just has a hidden talent.
Oh, for sure. It's like, I was like, oh, jealous. Hello. Like, I wish I could just draw without practicing. What the heck?
I'm sure he's been drawing for his whole life, just doesn't show anybody.
Yeah, right. I've been living a lie.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that is also like a big one though. Like family, I feel like has very much influenced my art. Not in just like, oh, like teaching me how to draw, just like them really supporting my art career, I feel like. Like, I was very lucky to have parents that were, like, so cool with me going into animation and, like, never really, like, pushing me for me to, like, try something that I didn't want to do. I don't know, I feel like a lot of parents kind of push their kids to, like, find, like, a more, like, oh, stable job, or, like, a job that's gonna make them, like, a lot of money. But, like, ever since, like, I was a kid, like, my parents have always been, like, they've just so support. They've absolutely been my number one supporters in my, like, artistic journey.
That's awesome.
I feel like, yeah. So definitely family, and, like, I don't know, I think when you're a board artist, like a storyteller, like, real life is just a huge inspiration as well. Just, like, all the people around you, like, being able to, like, those experiences and, like, drawing from that, which is probably, like, one of the number one things I learned from school as an artist, is, like, always draw from life. And that can mean, like, oh, like, as far as, like, poses go, and just studying and, like, being observant of, like, people and stuff like that, and, like, anatomy, but, like, also, like, how people act, and, like, you could come up with, like, a lot of, like, fun little stories just by, like, people watching and, like, being aware of what real life people are doing. I feel like.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, observation is huge.
Yes.
I was gonna ask about, is there also, like, music or, like, books or any other kind of, like, medium that has influenced you? Or it could even be, like, on the internet, if there's, like, websites.
Give us those deep cuts. I want to know some, like, weird obscure shit that you found that nobody else knows about.
Oh god. I'm not sure. I'm, like, so uncultured because I got into, like, everything so late. Like, even, like, music, and, like, I was a very sheltered child, so, like, everything, like, I know is extremely, like, mainstream. I feel like I haven't really come into my own completely yet, but
It's cool too, though. Honestly, I feel like mainstream music, okay, this is probably a me fact, but, like, for the longest time, my parents, or, like, my dad was like, no mainstream anything because it's not original enough or whatever.
right.
And
What?
it's only just, like, recently that I'm
Interesting.
like, it's okay to listen to chart, like, top Billboard
Top 40.
Yeah.
Yeah.
music. And I'm like, yay, I can finally listen to, I don't know, Zed and like it.
Right.
And no one can tell me it's not good.
Your
Yeah.
dad's so indie and cool. So
Well, it was just kind of more of a, like, classical music, classic
oh, I see.
kind of.
Okay.
So it was
Gotcha.
either that or just, like, I don't know, But I'm just saying that mostly because I think there is something really interesting about mainstream music, is that it is produced by a lot of different artists. Like, it's not just one person who does, like,
For
the
sure.
track. You have, like, a team of, like, at least 10 different people.
There's
right?
a lot of people when you start
Right?
looking at the credits. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like making a movie, right?
It super is. Oh my gosh. But
Yeah.
I just think it's so interesting to think about that, and that, like, because, like, mainstream music, when you really listen to it, it's kind of like a movie also in terms of, like, the rhythm.
mhm.
You kind of want to, or like a roller coaster, you kind of want to start it, like kind of slow, kind of amp it up, kind of slow, and then you kind of start, like, having your drops and, like, your big moments and your big chorus, and it's like kind of like I don't know. I just like to make parallels between different mediums.
Yeah,
I
for
think it's
sure.
cool.
Fee talks about her love of pop music.
Yeah.
I do. I love pop music.
There's no shame.
Yeah. No, I definitely, like, I want to try, like, branch out and, like, listen and, like, watch more different things. But I like, the hardest part for me is just, like, knowing where to start, just because, like, there's so much out there.
It's too much.
Yeah, and it's, like, it's very easy to, like, get stuck in your, like, little comfort zone, which I think I've definitely done for a long time. And I would love to just, like, anytime I stream, I always just, like, ask people, hey, do you guys have any, like, music recommendations or, like, movie recommendations? And just, like, learning something new every time I do.
Yeah.
Just, like, so everybody's just like into such cool different things, and like I would love to be able to find like my own little niche that I could get into.
For sure. I had to go through an education of my own at some point. Like I mean, I still am very limited in what kind of music I listen to. It just like I'm really picky, but
Right.
with movies, I guess I grew up watching movies with my parents and stuff, but then I remember like around college, I was just like consuming so much because there was a lot that I hadn't seen and a lot that I was interested in, and I burned myself out. And like I still watch a lot of movies, like more than I think the average person. I've like talked to other people, and I realized that the amount I watch is not normal. It's like for a time it was like 2 a week almost, like maybe more. And I think now in quarantine everyone is, just watching a lot more media, but for a long time, like it was like a constant thing for me. But it is helpful. I mean, it did it made me snobbier, which is maybe the bad side of it. Like I have a really hard time enjoying things now because I've just watched so much shit. I'm like, this reminds me of this. Like this, they already did this, and that it taints the experience. But I do have a well of knowledge of just like, I mean, even it applies to storyboarding. Like there's a lot of stuff that I just like know. I have examples of, and I have like a library of compositions and things in my head.
Yeah, I think that's a really valuable skill to have, and I think that's something like I would really like to tap into more and like tap into again. Because like in college, they definitely do that. Like they make you watch like all these like really obscure kind of like films, and like at the time I was just like, I don't really want to do this though. Like, why should I care? But then like I feel like I definitely did go through like a snob period. I think a lot of college art students do though, right? Like you're just like, oh, I know like better than everybody else, and like I've seen this movie and like this movie, and this is how you should storyboard, and like this is what cinematography is. So I definitely went through that after like a year or two of like college, but like I don't know, I just like goofy stuff. I don't know.
Hey, that's fine.
Yeah.
I had this like down to earth moment where I thought that I was so knowledgeable about like indie movies and stuff that's like not in the mainstream, man. Yeah. And then I was at a party with some people, and this guy was, I think I said like, I watch a lot of movies. I'm into like, indie movies. And the guy was like, oh, cool. Like, what kind of stuff you're into? I'm like, I don't know. Like this, I like named some shit that I liked. And he was like, oh, okay. He's like, have you ever seen like this? It was like death orgasm, whatever. And I was like, no, I don't know what that is. He was just like naming these movies that like I had never heard of in my life. And I quickly realized that I don't know shit. And that guy, he wasn't being condescending even, but I just like, I had such a wake up call of like, oh, I don't know. I thought that like my knowledge of like Wes Anderson and A24 movies was enough. And I was like, oh,
Wes Anderson is not indie.
I know. Well, no, that's a mainstream example, but like I watch a lot of stuff, but I just, the movies that I was naming were like not it was not like on the level that he was, and I was like, I gotta educate myself more. I've been watching a lot of like Japanese dramas and stuff. I don't know.
Ooh, I would love to get into more foreign like films and stuff like that.
I highly recommend. There's 2 movies. So I really got into this director Koreeda. I think I mentioned him on the podcast before, but his best 2 movies, arguably maybe, are Like Father Like Son, where it's like basically the plot is that like there's 2 families whose kids had gotten swapped when they were babies, and they learn about the swap when the kids are like 7 or something. I think they're 7.
Oh, okay.
And they have to decide if they want to swap them back to be with their right parents or keep these kids that they've, and it's
drama.
Brutal. It's brutal, but it's amazing. And it's not like melodramatic. It plays it really quiet and straight. Like it's fantastic. And then there's a movie called Shoplifters about this, I think it's called Shoplifters, about this family that like they're very poor, and that's just like kind of how they make their living is just like stealing.
Oh, okay.
And it's just like it's like a quiet family drama. But then I've gone down a rabbit hole of watching like a shitload of other movies by Koreeda, and like some are better than others, but they it's good. It's like different. It's not like any American indie movies that I've seen, even like family dramas, because American movies, like Western, I would say, tend to be a little more over the top.
Yeah.
And here, like, the conflict is sometimes so low key that it's like I don't even notice it happening. Like, I'm like a scene will play out, and then I'm like, oh wait, that was important. Like that was like a serious moment, but I just didn't. I'm used to everyone screaming at each other and like.
Oh, for sure.
And so I'm like, okay. But I love that.
It's like a very different experience.
It's a good director's. It's a good director to get into during quarantine when you just want something to like vibe out to and not stress you out. It's like, this is good. It's like it's conflict, but it doesn't hurt my brain. This is what I want.
Yeah, I would love to get into stuff that's just like like completely beyond like anything like I've consumed currently. Like I just feel like it's really valuable to like not get stuck in your own little bubble and like ways of doing things and ways of like telling story as well. Like there's just so many different ways to I don't know, that seems really interesting. I'll definitely have to check this director out.
Oh yeah, I think something that people should also not forget is that like Netflix DVDs still exist. Like I've been getting, I actually just this week unsubscribed from Netflix DVDs because like my queue was empty. Honestly, that's really what it came down to. I had watched everything I could even think of, and nothing's coming out.
Right.
But like I feel like a lot of people are stuck in this box of like what's on streaming, and I am constantly disappointed by what's on streaming because it's like there is decades and decades of movies and TV shows, but let's say movies especially like over the the last century that are just not anywhere. Like there's a lot of really good shit that's not anywhere, and it sucks. And so for a long time I would be cycling through like 2 movies a week. Like I would rent something, it would arrive, I would watch it, I would send it back, get a new one for a long time. And so that's just something I think to keep in mind is like that stuff's still around and it's pretty cheap. It's like $10. Man, we got to get sponsored by them. But it's like it's like $10 and it's you get like unlimited movies. You just have to wait for them to arrive, but it's like a thing. You get a movie, you pop some popcorn. It's like there's a little more like
no, it's fun. It's like an experience.
it's like back when you actually had to rent movies from Blockbuster. It like felt more purposeful, whereas now it's like you spend more time browsing than you do actually watching.
100%. It sucks.
Whatever's on there. Yeah, I hate that. Like
kind of like the idea is that instead of opening a streaming service and browse through, the idea would be just like to have a purpose before you watch something. That was kind of something. I don't know if you guys have watched the social media, like what was the Social Dilemma on Netflix?
No, I haven't.
It's not, it is what it is, but that's kind of what like one of that was the advice from the guy at the end of the documentary was like, when you go on YouTube, just type in what you actually do want to watch.
I think I think that like there's definitely a change in how people are experiencing media, I guess, because like it used to come with more purpose where you knew what you were seeking stuff out and you would find it and you would have to acquire either a tape, you would have to go to to the store and rent stuff, and now we have so many options and like so much stuff that it's like I was saying, like you end up spending more time browsing, but also people passively watch a lot of things, and like I don't know, maybe I'm an old man, but like I feel like stuff loses purpose and value when it's just this like it's all content, quote unquote.
For sure.
That's always been the case, like, with the radio, with TV and all
That's
that.
true. That's true.
Like, you could always passively consume stuff.
That's true. Maybe it's specifically movies. I think that it was harder to seek movies out in the past, where it's like either you see them in the theater or you rent it. It's like it was a little bit harder. I guess there's stuff on TV, but that's like always the shittiest movie. It was like it was like all Adam Sandler movies.
But enough about being old grumps and more about Kiana. Let's hear
be a young grump.
Young grump.
About less about being old farts. Let's hear about like what are in terms of like your personal life, like what are your personal projects and like your hobbies. And also I think you would be really great. It's something that we haven't asked a lot of our guests, but I think it would be really great to kind of like have your thoughts on your balance, like how you see the balance between art and life.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. What do I do? What do I do? Don't do
What do you
much
do?
nowadays, but like,
Oh yeah.
because we're just like inside all day. I've definitely taken up like streaming a little bit more. Just like drawing, like stuff like this, just like doodling for fun and like talking to
Mm-hmm.
people. That's probably like the number one thing I've kind of picked up a little bit more over this quarantine. In the past, I used to do a little bit of music. Like played the ukulele. I did piano for a
Oh,
little
cool. I didn't
bit.
know that. Okay.
Yeah, and before that, when I was in Hawaii, like, because I'm from Hawaii, I
Mm-hmm.
would go like hiking a lot, like walking a lot, just like being outside, going to the beach. I've found that to be a little bit more difficult in LA,
Yeah.
so I definitely missed
I
that.
don't even know where to walk. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I've definitely missed that. I think the most about being in Hawaii, other than family, of course.
Sure. They're still back in Hawaii.
Yeah, my parents moved to DC for my dad's work, and then
Oh, okay.
pretty much everybody on my mom's side of the family, though, like my Japanese side of the family, all
Mm-hmm.
still lives in Hawaii,
Mm-hmm.
which I would have gone to this year had it not been for
I went this
COVID.
year. I went for the first time in February, right? Like right before
Oh
quarantine.
wow,
Oh
good
my
timing.
gosh.
Where did you go? Or which island?
I went to Big Island
Oh, Big Island's nice.
and Oahu.
Yeah, that's the one I'm from.
Yeah. Wait, where did I go? Where's Honolulu?
Yeah, Oahu.
Oahu. Okay. I liked it a lot. It was really nice, and like I am very jealous of anybody that grew up there and like
Yeah.
just got to kind of. It's just such a chill, calm place, and like, and that's like the stereotype. But man, when you're there, it's like
No, it like time like legitimately slows down. Like I remember
it
going
does.
back to Hawaii like the first time, like after being in like Oakland, like for school, and then just like I remember just going there, just feeling like immediately just turning to Jello and just like oh the feeling of just like going slow and just like
Hmm.
cruising and just like being with family, not really have any plans and just kind of like relaxing. It's so nice. And then like
Yeah.
going back and then immediately getting like whiplash.
It sucks. It's like, yeah, it's so like, yeah. I mean, I was there on vacation, so I was in full vacation mode. But
Oh yeah.
yeah, just like driving around and like stopping at the beach and like, I tried surfing for the first time and
Fun.
it was exhausting. I almost died. I feel like I almost died. Like
Yeah.
I was more tired than I have maybe ever been.
Yeah, surfing is hard. I'm
It's
not much of a
hard.
surfer. Like I've done it before, but I like paddleboarding a lot more, which is also tiring in
I
like a
gotta
different
try
way.
that. Yeah.
It's very fun. A lot more chill, but like a lot less scary because you're just in like
Yeah.
calm waters. But
Yes. Yeah.
definitely a big old arm workout for sure.
It was like the instructor I had was the most like Hawaii dude ever.
Yes.
Super tan, just like bruh. And like he was a nice guy. He was very nice. Shout out whatever your name is. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's like he kept to surf you have to like go out where the waves are, and it
Hmm.
was the beach that we went to is like pretty well known for surfing, but like I don't remember what it was called. But the guy just kept like, come on man, let's go, like, let's go out on the waves. And the part that hurt the most the next day is just my stomach because you're laying on the board so much.
Oh, for
And it's just
sure.
like I think I was just like it was just a giant unseen bruise on like the
Oh
front of my
no.
I was so like tender just from having to like lay on the surfboard.
Yeah.
But anyway, what kind of stuff did you do? You said that you were doing more walking around in Hawaii, but like what were you into any of like the sports other than paddleboarding?
Not like I guess like stereotypically like Hawaiian sports like canoeing or like
Mm-hmm.
paddleboarding and all that kind of stuff. But I did do a lot of sports as a child and a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
Like I did oh boy, track, cheerleading, gymnastics, karate,
That's a lot. Wow.
tennis, soccer, volleyball. I did flag football at one point.
Damn, you're sporty. Okay. That's a lot.
Yeah, basketball. I did pretty much everything. I also my family is also very athletic, very sporty people. So I have been doing sports for a long time. And it wasn't until like
I feel like most artists don't.
yeah, I know. I don't know what happened. I definitely stopped though, like as soon as I went to college, because like art colleges don't have sports like at all.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was definitely weird, like going from doing sports like every day, all day, like on top of school and everything, and then just like focusing on drawing full time was
Yeah.
really strange to me.
Would you say that maybe having that schedule of doing sports on top of school kind of taught you some kind of work ethics for that became useful for drawing?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, like I that's like the number one thing I learned in high school, I think, was time management. Because I did all those sports, and then on top of that, I was in IB, International Baccalaureate Program, which is essentially like college level AP courses, except it's like every single one of your classes. So like I was a smart kid. I graduated with like a 4.6 GPA.
Wow.
Nice. Were you valedictorian?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Woohoo!
Yeah, valedictorian. So yeah, I was a very smart kid, and like that's pretty much like where all my time kind of went, was just sports and academics, and then just kind of drawing on the side in my free time. Like anytime like I was starting to feel like stressed or overwhelmed, just do like a doodle or something. So art really helped me like cope in that way. But it definitely taught me time management, because yeah, you have what, school from like 8 to 3, and then right after like the bell rings, get like geared up for whatever sport you're gonna do for like 2 hours tops, and then go home, do like your homework for like all 8 of your classes, and then like call it a day, which is a lot to kind of manage as like a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
So like I was so stressed in high school. I was so stressed, and I was like, oh man, the real world's gonna be crazy. But then when I went to college, like college was like such a breeze for me comparatively, just because like I didn't have to focus on school, like, or not school, but like sports, and then doing school on top of sports. It was just like working on my projects, and like the fact that it was like drawing and something that I like really wanted to do and wished I had more time to do when I was in high school was just like really special. So like I was cruising in college. I was having the time of my life, just like being able to draw and do all these like animation projects, and like just getting to spend so much time with my artwork. And I feel like I grew so much in college, like exponentially.
When you say you grew, like artistically, but also, or you mean also as a person?
Oh, both for sure. Like I learned a lot about myself in college. Because like I said before, like I grew up very kind of like sheltered, like not exposed to like a lot of different media, not exposed to a lot of different people, like very Christian kind of religious household. So going to like a very like liberal like art college definitely opened my eyes.
You learned some shit.
Yeah, it opened my eyes to a lot of different things, including like, oh, myself, like, wow, realizing like I like girls, like I'm gay actually. And like a lot of like my current like views on like politics and all this kind of stuff that like we never really talked about in my house like prior. So I learned a lot about myself and grew in that way and came into my own. So I had like a late start, but I don't know, I'm happy with where I am now for sure.
Right. Yeah. Would you feel comfortable talking about going back home and like telling your parents about your new views on the world?
Oh yeah, my parents are like super loving and caring. Like I love them so much.
Oh, that's great. Yeah,
they were super supportive of when I came out. Like I definitely was like crying a lot, being like,
sure, that's a lot.
Coming out so scary, but like I could tell they genuinely like wanted to understand, and they were super cool about it. It was like very new to them, so like on top of that, like I didn't want to freak them out too much either. But they were so sweet, and like they're still continuing to learn, and like are so loving towards like my girlfriend, and like even my ex, like who was my girlfriend at the time when I first came out. Like they were they treated them like family. And
Oh, that's really nice. Yeah, that's
yeah, and the rest of my family was also the same as well. So
great.
very lucky to have them, even though like they were like had different views at the time. Like they're definitely like they've made an effort to like understand like me
That's great.
and like everybody else and like all my friends and everything. So like very happy that they're that kind of like those kind of people and not just like stuck in their ways.
Sure.
Yeah, that is so sweet. I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I love my family so much. They're the best.
How do you usually deal with creative block when you're stuck on something? Because it seems like you're always producing some kind. I mean, it seems like fan art is something that's like a comfortable place for you, but I'm wondering if you ever just get like stuck and you don't know what to do.
Yeah, I've definitely gone through that before. I'm very lucky that I don't get art block too much. But when I do, it's like very aggressive. I get like very sad. So like really I just stop. And I think that's like an important thing to do. Like sometimes you just need to stop and like not draw for a while and like go do anything else. Like and I apply that to work too sometimes, which is like it's weird to kind of say that because like, oh, it's your job, you should be doing your job all the time. But like I feel like when I'm at work and I'm like trying to force like a board out like while I have creative block, it's like it's not gonna happen. I'm gonna come out with like a product that I'm like not happy with. So like
it just gets harder and harder. Yeah,
exactly. So I think it's like important to allow yourself to have those kinds of like, oh, I'm just gonna like today I'm not really gonna draw maybe necessarily. Like I'll look over the like if I want to be like productive on this board still like kind of look over my script again maybe and like make sure like the writing aspect is like good if I'm not feeling like drawing today. And like giving my hands a break and like just not drawing basically and like coming back the next day like a little bit more refreshed and ready to go. The nice thing about working on a team too though for boarding is that you have a board partner, at least in my experience. Like on Big City we have one board partner each, so being able to like not necessarily like put extra work on them, but being able to like rely on them and be like, hey, this is like kind of what I'm going through right now. And like them also kind of like I think all artists have kind of gone through that, so like they understand at least, and like I find comfort in not being alone in that situation. But yeah, just like knowing that you can take a break, and like usually when you do take a break, like you'll come out feeling a lot better like after you allow yourself that time. Yeah,
it's not like other jobs where you know you're just doing tasks. Like it's requiring a shitload of brain power and like a lot of different skills all at once, and so like
for sure
if you're not feeling
it's easy to burn out.
Yeah, if you're not in the mood, and not even in the mood, but if it's not working, then it's you got to take a step back and just give yourself like a day.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes.
And I do that like for personal work too. Like I pretty much just like I only really do fan art most of the time anyway. So it's like people like I have to tell myself like, oh, like it's fine if I like miss a day of like posting. Like
oh god,
I could relax.
Yes.
Like there was definitely a point in time like when I was like in college where I was like I need to upload every day to like stay relevant and like
oh my god, that's
keep up with the algorithm and like make sure like I'm like staying relevant basically, which was very damaging. So I do not recommend that.
No kidding.
But like since then I have like learned that taking breaks and allowing yourself time to breathe will only like make you come up with better like a better product and like better content that like you'll like and other people will like, and like there'll be more passion behind it, and like you just make better stuff when you're into it and rested.
I think that's great advice.
Yeah. There's a lot of like brain chemistry that I think happens that people don't want to admit sometimes.
Yeah.
And it really it has nothing because I feel the same. I sometimes want to push through burnout, and it doesn't really work that way. Like it's, sometimes you can, but it's totally okay to just literally let your brain rest. Like your brain just literally needs rest.
Exactly.
It's just firing off neurons all the time. Then it's just going to get tired.
Yeah. like that was definitely like one of the most valuable things I learned. Like, because it happened like in college. It was like my junior year. I was definitely just like drawing way too much, posting all the time, and then like it was like the same time I was like applying to like internships and all that kind of stuff, and like getting rejected, and I was just like, it was just
Yeah.
not a good brain space to be in. But like I
Yeah.
took a break. Like I just kind of like gave myself time to just not draw for like a few days, and like I felt so much better after that. Like, and it was like a small break too. Like it was literally like a weekend, and I was just like, oh, I should do this more probably.
Yeah. Well, I'm impressed with how you managed to keep up. Like you're always drawing, but you're also just always posting on like TikTok and Twitter and like again, this is old grump me,
Yeah.
but it's like that stuff like just exhausts me. Like it I am impressed with. I guess I want to ask you like what motivates you to always post stuff on there, because it's like it takes time out of your day. It's not just the drawing, but just to like kind of think about it and come up with interesting posts and interesting
Mhm.
TikToks, and like you have a pretty huge following, and it's like very impressive because like I said in the beginning, like it's all just, genuine stuff.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think it's because it is genuine, and because like I usually post stuff that like I really enjoy. Like it's Pokemon stuff. Like I love like
Sure.
engaging with fandoms and like other
I see.
people, like-minded people that enjoy like the same things I do. So I love making stuff that like makes people happy, and like coming up with new like scenarios for characters that like the shows like, or like the media that they're from originally like would never do or like show them doing, like for like Jesse and James, like them just like being domestic together in like the
Sure.
future. Like that's not gonna happen in the show like ever.
It's endearing.
Yeah. So like being able to like put that out and like see other people's thoughts on it, and like hearing like their ideas about like something similar is always like really sweet. And it's I just like the like creator and like audience kind of relationship. I feel like it's very unique. There's definitely like a line that gets crossed sometimes, I feel like, but for the most part it's like a very like valuable experience to me. And yeah, I just like love hearing what people have to say. And because like there's just so many like creative people out there, and like even though like they don't necessarily like do art or like write fanfics or anything, like sometimes they'll just like write like a little post or something on my post, and it's just like the cutest like idea or like scenario that like I in turn get like really inspired by. So I just like that back and forth kind of thing, and it makes me like really excited to just make more stuff for people and also myself. Yeah.
Cool.
That's great. I think that's actually super great to hear about like you interacting with the fandoms and because you know what, it's something that's really super new to me. I had never thought about like fandoms being like an active community until like very
Right.
recently.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we got a lot of good questions from Twitter, from our fans,
Yes, I'm very excited to hear these.
from your fans.
Yay.
The first question from at CSTL underscore creati underscore 27, I think. What made you decide to go into storyboarding?
Ooh, okay. That's actually pretty interesting because I actually, when I went into art, initially wanted to go into character design
Okay.
and like viz dev. That was just like, I think what was like at the forefront of like everything. Like I didn't see like a lot of storyboards growing up, but I always saw like, oh, character design stuff, and like just looking at characters and being like, I want to do that. I like drawing characters. So that was kind of my focus for like a while. But it was at CT in my sophomore year of college. I had like my portfolio, which was like mostly viz dev stuff, and I went up to this character designer's booth, and like he was very kind and gave me like a little portfolio review. And in my portfolio I had like one board sample, just like literally a few panels.
Mm-hmm.
And he was actually like very impressed by my like character design stuff, but I think he like just saw something in like my boards that he really like just like spoke to him or something, but he was like, your character design stuff is really good, but like your boards, there's something about them. Like, have you ever tried boarding? Like giving boarding more of a shot? And I was like, oh no, not really, but like I could try. And that like really just set me on the right path, I feel like, to just like
that's great, yeah.
Yeah, to just like trying boards out, and like I found that I just really, really enjoyed it. And like after that, like took more storyboarding classes. Because in my college it was like the first 2 years are kind of just like, oh, basic animation classes, and also just like the other classes like woodshop and like learning like drawing one kind of classes. So my junior year I got to choose more kind of like geared towards like what I actually wanted to do, which was perfect timing. So like after like that experience I was like, oh, I should try like taking more storyboard classes then, which I did, and I just like completely fell in love with storyboarding from there. And yeah, pretty much continued to pursue that. And yeah, it was just great timing because like for our school we also had the Pixar summer story intensive because we were up in Oakland, so it was really close to Pixar, and most of our professors were Pixar like alumni pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So 6 people from our school would get picked for this summer story intensive pretty much, based on our junior project or like junior review basically. So I had like a lot of boarding stuff in it, and I got chosen for the Pixar summer story intensive, which was really cool.
Yeah, that's
like,
awesome.
That was such a cool experience to have, and just like really getting like knee deep into like storyboarding pretty much. And that's kind of what like set me on that path, I would say.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
V, did you want to ask the next one?
Yes. From at Xylus. What was it like getting in contact with Michelle Knott, aka Jessie's voice actor?
Michelle. Oh my god, that was so fun. Like, it's so surreal that happened. So Michelle Knotts is Jessie's current English voice actor in Pokemon.
Yeah.
And she recently started doing Twitch because I think like a lot of voice actors recently just started doing Twitch because like cons have kind of like been put on standby and are not happening, and they're not getting like revenue or like money from like events like that anymore. So like Twitch is like kind of where they all turn to. So Michelle Knotts started doing Twitch streams, and Animal Crossing was kind of like the first thing she did, because like if you remember at the beginning of quarantine, like that was exactly when Animal Crossing came out.
Yeah, perfect timing.
Yeah, so she was doing Animal Crossing, and then she had like a pretty like small niche group of followers on Twitch, and I got to be one of them. And like she would open up her island to everybody, and then like go to other people's islands. And being like the Team Rocket freak that I am, like my whole villager's house was just based on like Team Rocket stuff.
Oh boy.
So she got to go and like see that, and she was like so happy to see that. Like she's just like such a genuine person. So she's just like, oh my god, this is so cool, and like loved everything about it. And like after that, what was the next part after that? Because like we gone to each other's like islands a couple times, and then she started doing Smash Brothers like every weekend. And because I love Smash Brothers, I started playing on her stream, and I was like pretty much undefeated the whole time in her stream. And she's like, at one point was just like, we should get Kiana on the stream. Like, Kiana, just want to hop in the Discord? I was like, yes.
Oh my god.
So I got to like stream with her pretty much, and just like hang out and talk to her.
That's
and get
amazing.
to know like her other voice actor friends and stuff. And since then she's had me on her streams a few times for like Among Us, or for like other Smash streams, and other times just to like come on and talk. She's just like, oh, Kiana's here, Kiana, wanna like hop on? I'm like, yeah.
That is so cute.
Yeah, that's really cute.
I love those.
Yeah, she's like the sweetest person ever. So shout out to Michelle, go follow her Twitch.
Shout out. Next question is from at SML Captain. What's your dream project?
Dream project. Ooh. I mean, is it any surprise to say like Pokemon? Like anything. I feel like I've been like screaming that into the void for like, I don't know, like the past 2 years on Twitter just being like, I want to work on something Pokemon.
I feel like it'll happen for you.
I hope so.
Someday in some capacity it'll happen
for you. But yeah, I've like always been very vocal about like, oh, I just want to like work on Pokemon cards or like Pokemon merch, like literally anything. Like I just want to get my hands on Pokemon stuff. Yeah. So like that would be like the dream project, and like the dream project would be like doing a Team Rocket spin-off of sorts.
Oh boy.
Oh my god. That would be so great.
You're the person to do it.
I would love it. But outside of that, like, yeah, just like making my own show. I feel like I just really enjoy like cute slice of life stuff, and I would just like to write like a cute slice of life story. I think like anything like that. Not like I don't have anything like super well thought out, but like that would just be like a fun project I would love to work on with my friends and stuff like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's the dream.
That sounds great. Yeah, that is the dream.
Yes, having a show.
From at the David Draws.
David H. Draws.
David H. Draws. As a storyboard artist, is it your job to sync the audio/dialogue to your animatic?
No, it's not on our show. I know it is on other shows though, which I have to say I am not really for.
No, that's way too much.
Yeah, that's the editor's job. And like if board artists are going to do that, they should get paid for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's not our job. Like on Big City Greens at least, our job is only to like get the outline or the script and like look it over and then either come up with like new dialogue or like all the jokes and everything and like figure out the staging and like pitching it basically. And then after that you hand it off to your director, and the director is the one that handles like the fixes from like the exec notes and everything, and like the editor does like all the fun sound stuff and figuring that out and like all the timing and whatnot.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
At Stinky Doo Doo Boy,
yes,
asks,
love it.
What keeps the Team Rocket shipping spice alive? There is so much.
Oh god. Oh, like in the show, it's me. It's only me. I'm the only one. No, I'm just kidding.
Just you, keeping the flame lit.
Yeah. No, like in the show, there's always been like, I feel like in earlier seasons specifically, like it's always been like hinted at, and like I feel like most people who do ship like Jesse and James kind of like hold on like with like a death grip to like that one manga from like the 90s where it shows Jesse and James together and like Jesse's pregnant and they're just like married and happy and it's so sweet. But so like it's, I think like they're supposed to be endgame, but like since the series went on like so much longer than I think anybody anticipated, they just kind of like dropped it for a little bit. There's still always like little hints in the show where they're like really sweet to each other and you're like, oh, okay, cute. But otherwise there's like not too much. It's just like it's a lot of like I said, like fandom kind of like artists like myself just like drawing like Jesse and James together, or like fanfic authors just continuing to write stuff about Jesse and James and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's a good ship. It's like the OG ship from Pokemon, other than like Ash and Misty, I think.
That is so true.
Yeah, there's something weird about that one. I don't know.
That's fair.
Ash and Misty.
They're just like, yeah, I feel weird shipping kids.
They're children. Yeah, they're children, and like I don't know, there's something about it.
Yeah, that's why like as much as like I'm like, yeah, that's cute. It's like I never really draw it because I'm like I don't even want to bother. Like I'll just look at Jesse and James. They're fun and good and adults.
Right. Yeah, they're adults. How old are they supposed to be canonically?
25.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought there was some like anime logic where they're actually like 15, even though they clearly are.
Yeah, that's like that's like huge discourse in the fandom actually.
Oh shit.
I get that all the time because like whenever I draw like Jesse and James, they're like, why are you drawing them like this? They're kids. And I'm like, they're literally not. Please Google. Because like they're
check your facts.
Yeah. So they're definitely 25 based on like mostly stuff from like the 90s, which is why like if people don't know, like they don't know. But like I was like there's always like a post that's like trying to call me out for like they're like teenagers, don't draw them like
Welcome
this.
to Twitter.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, I promise, like if there was like any chance that they were teenagers, I would not be drawing them nearly as much as I do, because that would be weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're canonically 25.
Got it.
Yes.
Hear that, internet?
Please, I'm begging you.
Leave Kiana alone.
Leave me alone.
From @StupidArtPunk. How often do you change your approach to a board? Do you have a system in place, or do you try something new each time?
I feel like I kind of generally have the same approach every time. I've recently had to change it a couple times, like within the past like few months, just because I have had three, like when I first started working, I was working with Caldwell Tanner, very cool drawfee internet boy. I love him so much. But he recently left Disney, so when I came back from like hiatus, I was working with Raj Brueggemann, another fantastic artist. So like having to, like, after boarding, like Caldwell was my first board partner, so like after boarding with him for so long and like suddenly kind of having to like switch my methods up, like on top of like, oh, COVID's happening and we're all like working from home, and like that situation, I definitely had to resituate and figure out how I wanted to go about boarding with like a new board partner, and also like boarding from home. And me and Raj were only board partners for this like one special until we hired more board artists. So now I have another board partner, Eric Brown, who's also incredibly talented, pretty green and like new to like working in a studio, and like figuring out how to like work with him, and like figuring out like our senses of humor, and like how to best like break up a board, and like who would do best for like what parts. So in that way my approach has kind of changed, but like for the most part it's definitely still like on my end at least, like, oh, get an outline, kind of look it over, note up anything that I notice is like kind of weird, or like that I think wouldn't necessarily translate into boards super well, figuring out like dialogue, adding like extra jokes if I feel like I could add them, or like plus like what the outline already has, and then discussing with my board partner afterwards to make sure everything hooks up, and like both giving each other like critique, and like seeing if there's any place we could like improve. And then yeah, after that just start boarding, and then it's that 5-week long process of like boarding and pitching and boarding and pitching, and then clean up pretty much. Yeah,
pretty straightforward.
Cool.
Yeah. I will say though, it is different on like pretty much every show.
Yes.
So when I was boarding for the like Steven Universe anti-racism PSA, it was definitely a bit of a different approach than I would usually do, because like for one, it was like me working on my own, and then a much faster turnaround, just because it was like it's a shorter project, and what they were demanding for me wasn't like as much as Disney was, just because like it's Chromosphere, so like they were gonna animate it in-house, so like my boards could be like a lot more rough and like loose and relaxed.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, because like they have like people there that are like knowledgeable and like are able to read boards and interpret them like in the way that like they want to. So it was very fun working with them, and like working with an animation studio that like works and animates in-house, rather than a show where everything has to, like, all your boards have to be like clean and like perfect before they're sent overseas. So that was a really cool experience for me.
Cool. From friend of the show @Brendan Hong.
Hey.
What are some stories that you'd like to see be greenlit? What stories aren't being serviced in the industry today? And what would you like to see less of? Very good questions.
Oh, man. Oh, that's so hard to say, because I'm like really not a picky person. Like, there's not very many cartoons on TV right now that I'm like, I've seen this before, I don't really want to watch it. Like, everything like I've tuned into, like I'm like genuinely interested in. But I think like in general, just like I would love to see more female creators and like people of color, stories from people of color, especially like Black women. Like the fact that like there's only one show that I can think of made by a Black woman, or like show run by a Black woman, which is Backyardigans, like from how many years ago? It's kind of sad.
Yeah, it's very
like,
sad.
Yeah, I feel like there's so many Black women out there that have just like so many interesting and like different stories to tell. just based on like even stuff that I see on Twitter, like Black women are so creative and they have just like so many good ideas that I want to see being made, and like they're just not getting that chance to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So like in general, I would just like to see more of that. Like no like genre in particular, like pretty much like any show or any sort of like genre of show with like a black lead would be so cool. Like action show with a black lead, or like shonen like esque anime with a black lead, just like something different in that way. And like I feel like having like that different voice will bring something different to like that genre, like even if it's like a genre that you think like, oh, like I've seen like something written like this before. I think just by like having a different voice,
yeah,
or a different kind of perspective will be like enough to be like, oh, this is like a fresh new take.
Definitely.
So yeah, that's definitely my hope for the animation industry, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
From at Dino Lich. I never know how to say
Megan.
This. Megan is great. I love her. She will definitely come on the show eventually.
Yes. Oh my god. I would love to learn more about Megan.
Why is Meowth the best member of the Team Rocket?
Oh my god, yes. Meowth is great. Oh, he's like one of the only like talking Pokemon like in the show. Like that's so cool. I love him. Like there's Pokemon in the show that like can use telepathy and everything, but he's like the only one that like actively taught himself how to talk, and I think that's just like the coolest thing ever. And all because he wanted a girlfriend. Which is like, can't we all relate?
And it didn't even work out with.
I know. But it's okay.
The tragedy of Meowth.
Yes. But it's okay. He found friends that care about him very much.
Yes.
Found family.
Found family. And then this is the last question, and it's very important.
All right.
From at Pira Pirana. Favorite boba shop in Los Angeles?
Oh no, I'm gonna get so much hate for this.
Oh my god, Kiana.
I am a fake Asian, and I do not like boba that
much. We'll edit this out because you are fucked if this gets out.
This can't get out. Nobody can know. No, it's like boba is growing on me. Like I like boba, like the tapioca balls. I just don't like milk tea.
Okay.
It's just milk tea. And, like, I would like to grow, like, a taste for it. Because, like, I would like to be cool. Like, all my friends.
I think boba is kind of like, you need to have it done the right way. Because I think that it can be gross. And, like, I've had bad boba, I've had good boba. And when it's good, it's good. Like, when it's fresh and, like, the flavors are good.
Right.
It makes sense, you know?
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I don't hate it. It's just, like, not the kind of thing I would normally go for, but like, oh man, being in like Hawaii and like having to tell my friends every time, like, I don't really like boba, I'm sorry. We could go to the boba place still, like I'll just get a smoothie or something. They're just like, Kiana, it's not the same. I'm like, no, this doesn't affect you, I don't understand.
Honestly, yeah, you should be able to just get a smoothie if you want.
Yeah.
Yes. What are your thoughts on shaved ice?
Oh, shaved ice is the best. I love
it's the
so
shit.
Good.
It's so good. I thought that when I heard shaved ice, I thought of like snow cones.
Right.
And I think snow cones are disgusting.
Very different.
And like,
yeah,
we went to Hawaii and like
completely different experience.
Man, it's like, it's ice cream, but it's light. Yeah, it's like so smooth and oh man. And they give you these gigantic buckets of so it's like overkill. It's great.
Oh man. The like shopping center near my house in Hawaii, like it had such good shaved ice, but like the and we like I would go there all the time, like after hikes and like after hanging out with friends. But like the place to go in Hawaii is like the North Shore, which is like North Oahu, and it's this place called Matsumoto Shave Ice, and it's super popular. But like there's always like a huge line, just like wrapping around like the whole like building. But they've got it like so down to a system now that like the line just goes like so fast, and like every time I'm up there, like I have to get Matsumoto Shave Ice, and it's so good. But yeah, shave ice is definitely one of my favorite desserts, I think. And mochi ice cream, if you guys have ever had mochi ice cream.
Yeah, I got some, I did it all. It was, I had to try everything.
It's so good.
Well, that's the end of this creative block. Thanks to Kiana for being our guest and sharing her story.
Yay, thank you for having me.
And thanks to our listeners. Follow us on Twitter, where we ask for drawing prompts and questions to ask our guests. Huge thanks to my sister Clemens for editing the podcast.
And please subscribe to the channel if you love our content. I've been your host, Gene.
And I was V. Keep being creative, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.